Project tracking when there are expense refunds. This video will explain how to use the project tracking feature inside of FreshBooks when you want to track expenses to a client or a project and you end up needing to return something that you purchased. We're going to work through this video with 3 scenarios, easiest to most complex, so hard, harder than hardest. The first is going to be that you do all the shopping for a client and there is just a single charge that you put on your business credit card and you return that single item. You return the entire amount. The second scenario is going to be where you had a charge on a credit card for a certain store and you bought multiple things for the client and they were all for just that one client. And then you return just one item of the several things that you bought. And then the hardest scenario, the third scenario, is going to be when you went shopping at a store and you bought several things for 2 clients, and of those things you bought for the 2 clients, you returned one thing that was meant for just one of those 2 clients. All right, let's dive in. All right, so I created 3 expenses. We got 1, 2, 3 negative numbers and 3 returns, 1, 2, 3 positive numbers here in the bank feed and my demo company on this demo credit card. So let's start with our easiest scenario. Again, we bought a single item at a single store. It's always best to do our bookkeeping here in the expenses tab. So the first thing we bought was this single item for a client named Test Client. And it was from a store called General Store. So we have a good merchant. We picked a category. I picked cost of goods sold. It doesn't really matter, but this one is a clean expense. And so what do? When we have our expenses all polished, we're going to match that expense. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Sorry. We want to tag it to a client, though. So I'm actually just going to tag it to the test client number 1. I'm not going to tag it to a project. And then click check. And then we can reconcile it. But then we see this positive $100 come back in. And to do an expense refund, we go left side, mark as expense refund, and we'd put cost of goods sold, which is the category we selected for the original expense. We put it to the same category, and we can make a note, but what we're missing here is the ability for a field to tag it to the client. So that is the problem. So I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to come to the expense. So if this happens, where you returned the whole enchilada, you just come to the original expense, and all you do is you detag it from the client. And so we are returning something to cost of goods sold expense category, but it is no longer going to be listed as an expense tagged to that client. All right, now let's talk about scenario number 2. 3 items at $200 each for our client named Test Client. So back over here, I've already done the merchant and the category. We need to tag this to test client number 1. I said it was for test client number 1. And we click here. And then now we can match that expense. So this is what you would be doing in real time. Hopefully you're doing your books regularly. We're going to click the word match. And then time goes by and we see a positive number. And we happen to know, I put a lot of detail here, you won't get this detail. We just see a positive number and I wrote returned one of the $200 items for test clients. So we bought 3 $200 items in that $600 expense. And now we start to get funky because we have this marked to this particular client, but it's not fair to say that this client had $600 of expenses associated with him. So what we do is we duplicate the expense. The date was March 16th, I believe. And we're going to keep our original bank text and we're just going to say one $200 item from General Store original purchase was. And we returned 1, so I'm going to make this $200. So I'm going to click Save. And then let's go to March 16th here. Let's scroll down. Okay, so we've got 2 here. Now this is wrong as well because it's not $600. It's just $400, right? So we're going to save this. By duplicating the expense, y'all, it kept my merchant in my category. That's why I love that duplicate button. Now, so we spent $600. We are going to still have $600 totaling in our register here. Now I'm going to come back to bank reconciliation. I'm going to hit refresh. And that $600 expense that we had matched is going to be unmatched. And it got unmatched because I made a change to it. And so FreshBooks was like, womp, womp. I don't know what happened, but I got to kick it out. And so we can still reconcile our two negative numbers. Our button turned green. And then we can expense refund this to our original expense category. In this instance, it happens to be cost of goods sold. It can be whatever it is for you. And let's just quickly go to the Clients tab. We're going to go to test client number 1, and we're going to look at their expenses. And what do we have here? We've got, shoot, this is a learning experience. When I duplicated it, it brought over the client that it was tagged to. My apologies. So we are going to delete that, make it no client. Now I can come back to the test client tab. I'm going to refresh this, and it should only have that $400. There we go. That worked. All right. And before we move on to our third most complex scenario, I want to do a little commercial break. Please make sure you're subscribed to this channel because goodness gracious, you've just watched a lot of a video that's about FreshBooks. You have to be a FreshBooks user, so you must be subscribed to this channel. And the next thing is to say that all FreshBooks users are invited to my once a month free Q&A where I host a session where you can ask me any question. The link to sign up for that meeting has never changed. You go to heritagebusinessservices.com/help-with-FreshBooks, and you can ask me any question for free. Just go to that link to get this link to the Zoom where you will join the meeting. And the last thing is that I've created a list of my suggested tools for business owners. Now, some of you are never going to become clients of mine, and that's fine, but you are greatly benefiting from my videos, and so one of the best ways to say thanks is to go to that spreadsheet of my recommended tools when you need a tool for your business and see what I recommend, a digital tool. And I'll have a referral link in that list. The link to the spreadsheet is going to be below, and you can also just go to heritagebusinessservices.com/tools. Thank you. And if you ever need help with your business bookkeeping, just email operations@heritagebusinessservices.com and we'll get you taken care of. All right, now let's get to our third most complex scenario. We've got this $125 expense. This person did not listen to my advice because when you go shopping and you are at a store and you're shopping for 2 clients, you always want to make 2 transactions. It makes your bookkeeping wildly simpler. But what happened was this client, food safety consultant, went shopping, bought 5 things. They were each $25. 2 were for a client called test client number 1, and 3 were for a client called test client number 2. And then what's going to happen is later on in time, she's going to return one of those items. So when we see this come through and she's wanting to do project tracking, we already have a problem. So we're going to come to expenses. We're going to duplicate this, change the date to March 23rd. And I think one of these is going to be $50 because I said 2. So we're going to keep that bank text. Maybe we write 2 items purchased for client 1 in this transaction. We will assign it to the project. I believe this is test client number 1. There's lots that we can do here. We're just going to click save. And then we need to edit this one. And this one's just going to be $75. And the client is going to be test client number 2. And that's all fine. Everything looks good. We would be able to reconcile now. So let's think about this. This is how we would have done it without knowing that we're returning anything. We go boom, 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 and match. But then time goes by and we see a positive $25 come back up. We know that it's for test client number 1. So we've got to go do this one again. It was March 23rd. We need to make this 25, save. And now one of these 25s, because it was 2, oh, we're going to edit this one. That's right. We're going to make that one 25. That gets us back. We have 2 25s, which equal our $50 now. And then this one is not assigned to a client because this is the one that we're going to return, and we don't want it to say that we bought $50 worth of stuff for test client. We want to show that we bought 25. So now we're going to come back to bank reconciliation. It's definitely going to have unreconciled the transaction. So this got kicked back out, and we have 3 items. 175, that was for client number 2, and then we have 2 25s. One of them is for client number 1 now, and then the other is for nobody. Match, mark as expense refund. That was to cost of goods. I just want to be clear that not all refunds are going to be for the expense category cost of goods sold. You can refund lots of things, and you might not be using COGS. If you're not more advanced in accounting, I don't actually mind if you have everything as an operating expense, even your expenses that are trackable to a client. Happy for you to just use the operating expenses. This is how you split expenses. And when you return a portion of an expense, you have to split that expense before you can return it if you're doing tracking to a client or to a project. I hope this video was helpful. Don't forget, email operations@heritagebusinessservices.com if you need help. Tell us your problem, and we'll get you on my calendar, and I can get you some help. Come to my office hours group. The office hours is a membership group. Come to the free Q&A that I host. That's free. I'm Kate Josephine Johnson, and I help businesses build their business legacy.